Hello everyone, this is Anna from Lexington Journals. I hope you had a good weekend. It's Monday and as promised I'm here with the Holy Grail Journal, and I'm sure most of you know where that came from, where that inspiration came from, and of course it's Indiana Jones. The truth is that since I started making journals 3 years ago, making these kind of journals, I wanted to make an Indiana Jones journal and a Professor Jones journal. So I've been waiting and waiting patiently because I knew that the time would come. And as with these things, the time comes. And a lot of the time people say to me, "Oh, why don't you make this kind of journal or that kind of journal?" And I say, "Yeah, I'll do it." And then it just doesn't happen at that point because it wasn't the right moment. And I'm sure a lot of you who craft and make your own books and journals and all kinds of things, jewelry, laces, knitting, that there is a moment where you're going to combine those colors and that story, and it just varies. Anyway, long introduction here, and I'm sorry, but this is going to be I'm going to indulge myself today, and so be prepared for that, because it is one of my favorite topics. This, I have to admit that the adventures of Indiana Jones. The time that they came out, so the movies were just amazing, and I just love them so much. And that journal that the professor was holding in his hands was always an object of desire for me. So I tried to create an object of desire, and I couldn't idealize it. I couldn't make it look too pretty because it wasn't pretty in the film either, was it? It was rustic. It had been through a lot. It had moved from one place to another. It had all sorts of stuff in it and information. So what I did with this one is I aged it. It took me almost like hours. I don't remember how long it took me to actually age this journal. And I think I've got there. I think I've aged it enough. So I think I probably aged it a lot, but I think it doesn't matter. But I'll show you here the example of what I was trying to do. You see, this is an original cover from a very, very old book. And I think, I grunged and then anyway, this is what I was aiming for. And I could have just made this, put this as a cover, because I have two of these. Like, I have a book. I have a few of these books, actually. But I thought that it would be nice for somebody to actually have something that is similar, but not, as old in this case, because then you can personalize it and you feel it's not going to dissolve, fall into pieces in your hands. And there we go. That's my introduction. This is just my introduction. That is a general introduction. And now I'm going to move into the actual story introduction. So I'll just show you the cover of the journal, and then I can talk about the Holy Grail story a little bit. So I've got, I don't think that the professor's journal had this spine, but I just added it for a bit of interest. And this is the front. As you can see, all grunged up, inked everywhere. And here, one can add a tag with whatever they like. I left it plain. I will add some paper, some nice paper in it, so people can just... And the back is there. And here it is from the top. And this is the bottom part. This is elastic band, so it stretches it. Obviously, it's got space to stretch, plenty of space to stretch. So here is the book, and this is This is a tapestry by William Morris, and it's tapestry number 1 of the Holy Grail tapestries at Stanmore Hall. And it is titled "The Strange Damsel Summoning the knights for the holy to search for the Holy Grail." So there it is. This is my handwriting, and I hope if one doesn't like it, you can cover it with all sorts of things. But it's handmade paper, and it's going to be folded inside the journal. So, and this is the back, so people can also create in the back and do some collaging. So I added that. Now, I wanted to just have a little chat in the beginning about the Holy Grail. So it'll take a few minutes, and if anybody is a bit sort of impatient to move on to the actual journal, I will, I'll just tell you, it's about, I don't know, it'll take about 5 to 7 minutes to talk about this. So the Holy Grail as an idea, because I'm not looking at it as the actual vessel. The Holy Grail is the ideal, the search of the ideal, the search of self-discovery. And it is a journey, and it takes a long time. And this journey usually happens when times are hard. Doesn't happen when times are easy, because when times are easy and we're going through a high, let's say, in our lives, we just enjoy what we've got. And then when times get harder, we start looking for what it is that is missing in our lives, some of us, and we try to find that, and usually it's something simple. It's obviously, I'm not talking about matters of health, but it is, most of the time, it is just to open one's heart to receive light, to receive the joy of whatever anybody can or believes in. So it could be religion, it could be love and religion, it could be appreciation of what we've got on a daily basis. So today it's raining, and it's raining hard here, but for me there's sunshine, because I'm enjoying what I'm doing right now. I'm enjoying this video and enjoying having the contact that I'm having with you guys, and that is, for me, that is sunshine in my life. So, I'm not saying I've found my Holy Grail. I might never find it, but I am definitely on the path of trying to approach the time where I can say, I'm not looking for things that I cannot reach. I'm just looking for the moments that will make me happy, and I'm enjoying the moments I have in this world with my family. So that is what I see as the Holy Grail. And of course, as a historian, I would tell you that the Holy Grail was most probably, or most possibly, the Grail where Jesus shared at the Last Supper, and offered his blood to his disciples. And obviously that is what physically it is. That's what it is. But why did that happen? What was the point of it? The point was giving the light to them to continue his work. So this is the religious part of the Holy Grail. So it is a treasure. Looking at it now from the Arthurian point of view, from the Arthurian literature, it is the treasure that the knights need to find so that they can bring hope to the falling kingdom of King Arthur. And different traditions describe it as different, as a cup, a dish, a stone that has miraculous powers that provide happiness, eternal youth, sustenance, infinite abundance, and it is in the main myth, it is protected and it's guarded by the Fisher King. and it is traditionally thought, as I said to you before, to be the cup that Jesus Christ drank from at the Last Supper and offered with his blood offered to Joseph of Arimathea to collect his blood during the crucifixion. And Joseph of Arimathea, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, is or Arimathea. He is a personality that we see a lot in Britain after what happened. And he was the one that brought the basis of Christianity to this part of the world. And I'm not a religious specialist, so I'm not going to go any further into that. So I'm just going to say that he is also connected to Mary Magdalene in tradition now. And he's also connected to Glastonbury Abbey and Avalon, and that's how it all moves around and goes. So we're going through a circle with all the different journals I've made of this kind of relationship between King Arthur and religion, and you see that's why it's so popular as a myth of the time, because it's so much linked to the arrival of Joseph to Britain. So one has to know also that it is very much connected to the French culture as well, and it's called Saint Grail, and which means the sang real, the royal blood, and it is again a symbol. I see it as, of course, it's always, I always think it is seen as a symbol. Now, it is carrying the 7 gifts of the Holy Spirit, which is wisdom, understanding, counsel, fortitude, knowledge, piety, and fear of the Lord. And to carry it gives one the ultimate mystical experience. All I'm saying here is what is written and what is doesn't come from my own head, obviously. So I'm giving you a summary of what I have seen and read about the Holy Grail, and it was believed that it was kept in this mysterious castle, and it was surrounded by wasteland and guarded by a custodian who was called the Fisher King, who suffered from a wound that would not heal. And the recovery of that wound depended on the successful completion of the quest, which came from the knights, and the renewal, and that would also be connected to the renewal of the lands that had been destroyed by the attacks of the foreign tribes. And of course, in Celtic myth, it has magical properties, and also, well, and it also travels through the centuries in different stories. For example, in France, it's Chrétien de Troyes, and the story of the Grail and Percival, and that was in the 1100s. And there are also different stories in Germany by Wolfram von Eschenbach, Parzival. In the 19th century, that was 13th century, and then 19th century got Sir Thomas Malory, then the passing of Arthur, and then Scott and Tennyson describe as well. And then we also have the pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, who were artists but also very much believers of that kind of thing. So what is the quest for the Holy Grail? The common elements for the quest of the Holy Grail is clashes with monsters, battles with the elements, interventions by the gods, tests of moral character, mental cunning, and physical strength. And it all came together in the knighthood that was related to, obviously, to King Arthur, and later on the Knights Templars. So the Holy Grail is expressed in songs, in literature, and dance, and in books. Today it's comic strips, interactive games, adventure films. It's honestly, it is just a glorious journey. Through the centuries, the Holy Grail has taken us so far, and always the main idea of it is spiritual enlightenment. So this is the so also what I wanted to add is like legend, because this is a legend. We're talking about the legend of the Holy Grail. Is a traditional story or a group of stories told by a person or a place, and it is, the legend means a tale, and usually it started by the tales of the saints. That's how it started. Then later on became folk tales. They include supernatural beings, elements of mythology, explanations of natural phenomena, but they are always associated with a person or an area. And they're part of history, mentioned in part of history. A lot of this information I'm giving you is a compilation from different things I've read, but also Encyclopedia Britannica is a great source when it comes to talking about King Arthur, and like in a more like in a condensed way, so that you can you can get a good idea in a few, let's say, a few points. So let's have a look at the actual journal. I hope I didn't tire you out too much, but I did say I was going to give you some information. So here we are. Let's make sure it's placed in the right position so I can relax about that. Okay. Now, as I said, I've got the band, which is a very typical characteristic of the actual journal of the professor. Sean Connery, one of my favorite actors. I love Sean Connery. I loved him, especially as he got older. I don't know, I like that look. I like that accent. I like the way he speaks, the wisdom in his words, and he's just lovely. So let's have a look at the book. And I've used this original marble paper here in the end papers here, and it's very, very rustic, very wavy, beautiful design and lovely color. So yeah, I hope you enjoy that. This is the lady holding the damsel of the Saint Grail, and it's by Dante Gabriel Rossetti. You all know, and I'm sure all love, and beautiful expression. She's got a very religious look, the way she's holding her hand, and she's got the white dove on the back, the Holy Spirit. I think I might be wrong, but I think that's the way you can explain it. And she's holding the Holy Grail, and the Holy Grail is depicted at times as very beautifully done, with jewels on it, luxurious, beautiful piece of art. At times as just a wooden vessel, and in my opinion, it was definitely a lot simpler. And of course, he traveled around looking for the Holy Grail all over the place, and he had years and years of research in this journal. So obviously, airline tickets that were related to these journeys were also included. This is a beautiful download from Nick the Booksmith's downloads, and it's a map of Peru. Of course, he would have gone anywhere to look for information. Peru would be one of them. And this comes from the National Geographic Museum in Washington. Lady called Mary Hirsch photographed it, and it's on Flickr. And I am stating the information of where I got it, just so that people know. And it's a beautiful. I remember that in the journal of the professor. I remember that image because there were flashes of images of those. This is a map of the Holy Land. And of course that is very important. And I printed it on parchment paper, so it looks rather old. And there is a little piece on the parchment paper that's a bit, a bit kind of almost burnt out, and that's because it's handmade paper, obviously, and that looks quite original as well in other parts as well. I just love this. It feels beautiful. And I've added in the corners a few of these pieces of marbled paper, and I've cornered them because I think his journal was cornered, but even if it wasn't, I kind of liked it. And these come from medieval. This is also printed on this paper, handmade paper. They come from medieval parchments, and here is King Arthur and Guinevere, and this is a beautiful image, and it has come out so well. Beautiful, all the details on their faces and their clothes, and even on the table, you see so much. Very clear. And this is another free image I found on Flickr, and that's also part of in Mr. Jones's diary. So we have a few little ones as a bonus. I mean, they have downloads on Etsy where one can download somebody's interpretation of the diary and all that. But that wasn't my intention. My intention was just to make a journal the way I make them, and just to give somebody the inspiration for adding to it. And there's another manuscript here. King Arthur and Queen Guinevere, and the Grail brought by the knights. And that's some graph paper for Mr. Jones to use. Camelot. Lots of space for writing. This is Glastonbury Abbey, and there's the Tor. You see the mount, and this is where it would have been, Avalon would have been. And this is a beautiful map, and quite old. It's 1608. It's between 1608 and 1677 by somebody called Wenceslas Hollar, and it's Glastonbury, with lots of details, and here there are all the points of what he's interested in on the map, and numbers on them. So number 1 would have been the Tor. And this is Lancelot and the Chapel of the Holy Grail by Edward Burne-Jones, 1896. And poor Lancelot doesn't look like he's very well. He doesn't look good. And the angel is looking at him, quite sad, and it's not a very beautiful. It's a beautiful image, but it's not very. It doesn't go very far when it comes to searching for the Grail, obviously, because Sir Lancelot was not Lancelot du Lac for the French, and Bedwyr for the older English. He wasn't, or Bedwyr. He wasn't equipped well because he didn't have the purity of the soul, of his spirit, like obviously Galahad, his son, did. Because he was very fond of Guinevere. Well, who knows? But that's the legend, and I think I've mentioned it before. This comes from the same image that I showed you before of the different knights trying to reach the Holy Grail. This is an old castle, and this is another medieval parchment, round table, and King Arthur. Lots of writing here, which one, if has a patience and knows how to read medieval English, would be able to read, I think, because it's quite clear. And there's a postcard, which I suspect Professor Jones would have added into his journal. This is the Holy Grail, and there are different like images around that say that almost tell us that it's hard work to find it, and you can be stopped or interrupted in the way by things that are not good, are not positive, and you just have to know how to get over that, to overcome all these interruptions and blockages and I can't really think of the word, but you know what I mean. So this is the quest of the Holy Grail, and that's in for on Sir Galahad's side, and he's got on his side, he's got all the angels with him protecting him, because looks like it's quite a hard journey, and he's tired, he's bent down, and of course one gets tired. This is a knight. This is just an image I took from Flickr, and it's a beautiful image of a knight on his horse. And these are also Nick the Booksmith downloadables of her downloadables. This is a map, and there's a British Museum little tag from Nick, and I've added it here. This is from a very old parchment, medieval parchment, and it tells the story. It's part of the story of the Holy Grail, just a little part. And there's more of that paper, and there's a kind of collage. This side is mainly Tim Holt's collage, already made. I added this, and on this side I've added a map, a world map, which is always needed for an archaeologist, researcher, traveler. And here we have all these tags from the British Museum of different specimens, because he was looking at idols and all sorts of other things, searching for his obviously for his goblet. And this is a very clever envelope which opens up and of course he would have used for his very special findings there. There's a little corner tuck spot. It's got the British Museum. It's from the Natural History. And side pocket here. As you can see, it lays comfortably flat. And geology and microscopy. And this is a tuck spot. And some nicely kind of aged paper here. And another tuck spot. This is a side pocket from the outside, so one can slip in information. This is just something that he would have probably sort of added from his trips, his different journeys. And here is a Tim Holtz paper, and it has measures here, so one could measure things. And here, actually, this is the one we made the other day. It's Crafting Friday. It's yes, this side is already done, and I've added this bit, and then we've got a tag, museum tag, and this is a label, a museum label, and this is a little tag for his bag, for his traveling, and his suitcase. And this is a ticket which I've added here. Oh, do you know, I'm going to add it in the end, because I promised last time I was going to do it and I didn't. It's going to go in the end on this journal. You'll see where it's come from, because I think it's important to obviously to quote the right people, and also to give them credit, because I don't really want to use things without having given credit. So the rest, everything else, I give credit while I'm talking about it, but this one I need to add. This is parcel post rate chart, and that's an old one, and of course Professor Jones would have needed something like that. It's handy to have it in his journal. And some airplane sort of engineering here, which he might be interested in because he would have been taking little, these airplanes. This is a geology and microscopy label. This is a tapestry, and it's the tapestry of the Holy Grail, the search for the quest of the Holy Grail. Holy Grail tapestry, failure of Sir Gawain, 1890s, by Edward Burne-Jones. This is beautiful. There's always an angel there. This is the end. This is the end of it, and the Explorers Club. So, oh my god, today I have spoken a lot, and I hope I haven't bored you. I hope you enjoyed this journal, and this is going to be up on Etsy tonight. If anybody would like a similar one, get back to me and I'll make something like this. Similar. I know, we can make another one. I might make one again. See how it goes. But I had a great time making it. I really enjoyed the story. I hope you enjoyed the process of it. And have a lovely week, rest of the week. I'm doing a private order. And once that's done, I will get back to doing something new. And I will let you know soon. So take care, all my love, and we'll speak soon.